Hi, and welcome to today's session of the Natural Birth Summit. Today, we're talking about creating a positive birth environment for natural birth. And we're fortunate to have with us Clara O'Rourke. Clara, hi.
Hi. So happy to be
Thanks for
here.
joining. Yeah, thanks for joining us. So Clara O'Rourke is a holistic doula and childbirth educator with a passion for supporting people to birth in their full power. Inspiration for her business, Clear Light Birth, came from the truly transcendent journey people embark on through pregnancy, birth, and parenthood. Clara supports expectant parents in creating a holistic path to parenthood that reflects their aspirations. Clara helps her students in her childbirth education courses, helps them access evidence-based information, overcome fear and anxiety, and advocate for themselves, resulting in birthing with confidence. Clara, let's get started. Tell us about birth environment. Why is birth environment important?
So birth environment is so crucial, and I know you all have touched on this in some of the earlier sessions, but we are mammals, we're animals at the end, and we're constantly scanning our environment for a sense of safety, for a sense of comfort, and we simply biologically struggle to birth our babies if we don't feel like we are in an environment that is safe for us to bring our babies into. So creating a birth environment is a crucial part of the labor process and the natural birth process. When we experience fear, this is going to disrupt the natural chain of hormones in our body and can really stall out the natural labor process. If we were to think about being in the wild and sensing a predator or something like that, our bodies are smart enough to really stall things out until we get a sense of safety, right? And so there's knowledge in the birth space around the fear, tension, pain cycle. So the less of a sense of safety you feel, the inverse of that would be fear, the more likely you are to experience tension, and tension also leads to higher sensations of pain. So if you're hoping to have a natural, unmedicated birth, you want to go to the inverse of that, which would be creating a positive and safe birth environment that's going to allow you to relax, which will inspire endorphins and oxytocin to flow freely, and you'll feel more comfortable. So that's kind of the main reason why focusing on birth environment is so important.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. And what are the elements of an ideal birth environment?
So what I talk to my students and clients about often is, first of all, a sense of safety. So what does safety mean to you? And that's going to look different for everyone. Some people might say a sense of safety means I know that, emergency medical care are 2 doors down. Safety might mean I'm in the comfort of my own home. Safety might mean I have these specific people present. I think privacy and intimacy are also really important tenets. We are also private creatures. And so if we're feeling like there's a sense of us being watched, or we don't feel at home or comfortable, that can cause us to kind of clamp up and slow things down. And also just making sure that we're in a calming setting and also fully supported. So who is there supporting us? Do we have access to things that are comfortable to us? That could be comfort measures. That might look like water immersion. If a water birth is important to us, that might look like having our partner nearby, or our doula who's helping with different comfort measures. And we can also look at that through the lens of the 5 senses. So a birth environment could look like having dim lights. That's correlated to having less sensations of pain, really kind of taking the mood down. Just like we would set the mood for the way that we make our babies, we set the mood for the way that we birth our babies. So dimmed lights, nice, calm. You can use like tea light candles or something like that. Think of the sounds. You might decide to have calming music, maybe energizing music, maybe meditative, different frequencies going on. think of aromas. What smells are comforting or energizing or relaxing to you? That could be essential oils like lavender. Peppermint can help
Right.
with nausea. Citrus smells kind of help with the infusion of energy. And then for touch, think of, do you like massage? Do you prefer not to be touched? Would being immersed in water be comforting to you? Even maybe the sound of water might be comforting to you. And lastly, taste is maybe the least important one, but still important. I always pack clementines with me because sometimes the citrus smell can and taste can help energize you, or honey sticks can be kind of a sweet sensation to kind of make you feel like you're kind of in a homey environment.
Okay. And so in terms of that environment, if you're in let's say you're in the home environment, you've got much more ability to control that environment, don't you? So when but in the home environment, the other thing that you have is you have your provider who's coming to your home, who's supporting you for your labor and birth. And so, is that something that you would expect to talk to your provider about the birth space? And you may want, you know, really low lighting. They may at times need to have a little bit of a different level of lighting if they are needing to look at something, for
Sure.
example, potentially blood loss or things like that. Is that right? So midwives would expect to be, they'd bring in some equipment, they've got a few things, they've got a few needs, haven't they? And that's not unusual. But they're a visitor in your environment. That's the key thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think for the most part, most midwives who are supporting home birth will come to your home before the actual birth happens. So you can
Right.
talk a little bit about where you're hoping to be laboring, what that looks like, how to kind of clear out whatever space that they might need to have their equipment available. And also, in terms of lighting, I know most midwives have some sort of like headlamp or something like that to help, even if they
Right.
were in more of a dim lighting situation, but having all of those backup things kind of prepared for a home birth as well. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then what happens when you are going to labor or birth and you're planning to go to a birth center and to a hospital environment, and those are not your homes, and therefore you're the visitor in those environments, and those environments are already set up by other people for what works for them. So how does one navigate that? How does a mother navigate that?
Yeah. So I think it's important to understand that you have the freedom to take control or claim your birth space, if you will, regardless
Okay.
of what setting you're in. So if it's not your home, you still have a lot of things that you can do. And I'll talk a little bit about the things I typically bring with me to support my clients in creating more of a cozy birth environment. You don't have to ask permission to turn the lights off in a hospital room or in a birth center. And usually there
Right.
are some kind of dimmed light options in there. If not, you can bring twinkle lights in, kind of like a stream of lights, or you could bring little electronic tea lights as well. And so
Right.
that helps
Right.
kind of bring the mood down and calms it in a hospital environment, because once you dim the lights, you're not noticing, oh, well, there's this giant monitor here, or there's, the like medical equipment. It really
Right.
it allows you to go a little bit more internal and think about your birth and focus on that rather than the unfamiliar environment around you. Um, Most places are okay with you diffusing essential oils. If not, you could always bring them with you and have like a rag or some cotton balls and be smelling those throughout labor to have the sensation of aroma. Um, and then you don't have to ask permission to play music. Maybe you might want to be conscious about not absolutely blasting it, but most people are keeping the music at a very calming volume during
Right.
birth. So those are some of the things that I think are helpful. Even sometimes people prefer that you put a little bit of a sign on the door that lets them know, hey, like I startle easily. So if you're going to come in and out of the room, please make sure that you chat with my partner or my doula before coming in, so that that transition can be eased, right? We're thinking about the
Right.
privacy, calm of the place.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and always remembering that it's your human right to birth in the presence of whoever you want or no one, right? So even if you're in a hospital, which in a lot of ways you would claim is, their space, you have the right to ask to clear the room. You have the right to ask for a change in staff if you don't resonate with the people that you're working with. So that's an important consideration too. Um, and for birth centers, they tend to be really on board and already have a lot of things prepped to really support
Right.
creating a calming birth environment, and tend to, be ready right there with you, prepping things. But I know most of the hospitals that I've worked in, they walk into the room, they're like, wow, this is a whole vibe in here, like cute. And they're like, I can stay in here all night. So instead of getting like pushback, like, why are you creating this whole environment? It creates some curiosity, for those who might not be as trained in kind of the holistic practices to be, oh, wow, that's interesting. I didn't realize that birth could
Right.
look like this.
Yeah. Do you recommend that we talked about twinkle lights and do you recommend that people get battery powered twinkle lights to avoid any issues around plugging into sockets? Is that
Yeah,
a good
that
idea?
would be helpful.
Yeah.
Usually there are a handful, but just in case, you could get some battery operated ones. I tend to just bring the little tea lights with me. I have like a pack of 12. And that
Yeah.
tends to be great when you dim the lights and just have that soft little like undulating light. It's lovely.
Yeah. Fantastic. What's there's a lot of a lot of interest in birth environment now. What are some of the places that people can go to get ideas about birth environment? And um, what would you recommend? Other things that people should use cautiously, or are they all? Is it all good that's out there?
Yeah, so in terms of inspiration, I think a great place to go would be Instagram, and follow some birth photographers, natural birth photographers, even
Right,
people documenting their birth experience. If you're curious about home birth, that's a great place to look. Regardless of where you're planning to have birth, following people who are having a home birth, you can kind of see what they have in their home environment that you might be able to bring with
right,
you.
yeah,
Yeah, some things that I don't recommend is anything flammable, whether you are in your home environment or you're at a hospital. I always bring battery operated candles.
right,
The hospital will not let you have an open flame. Same
right.
if you have like an essential oil diffuser. Some people use diffusers that, you light a candle underneath. Nothing with an open flame. And in all honesty, in birth, you don't want to be worrying about an open flame anywhere. So I'd say like
Of
default
course,
to using an electronic option instead.
yeah.
That's kind of my big watch out. I don't recommend using anything with an open flame.
Yes, okay, fantastic. And how would you advise mothers to use the question of birth environment to engage their birth partner or their the father? Is it good? Is birth environment a good opportunity to engage the birth team?
Yeah, I think it's a really fun way to start planning for birth together. Think about it in the same way if you're planning a birth shower, or if you
Yeah,
planned, all of those things. I think we put so much effort into thinking, okay, well, how are we going to make this a comfortable environment for our guests? Like, how are we going to make this a comfortable environment for me because I'm giving birth? And these are the things that are
right,
important. And really talking with your partner or support team about what that looks like and what's important for you. What are some things that they can do to set that up for you while you're focusing on your body? Okay, whose job is it if I'm using a birth pool? Whose job is it to fill up the birth pool? Whose job is it to
right.
set the mood and get the essential oils going or dim the lights? Either talking with your partner, your doula, your any family member who might be present. I think that's a really fun way to engage them. And I think talking about what safety and that calm environment means to you is really important. A really interesting example, one of my clients right now, she has ADHD and she's really concerned because she can't be on her medication during pregnancy. And for safety for her, she gets really distracted by noises and beeps and sounds, and will be in a hospital environment, right? So us
Yeah.
thinking creatively about what she is going to need to feel totally safe, calm, and not distracted. So does that mean we make sure she has noise canceling headphones? Does that mean we talk to care team about not being on continuous monitoring, making sure that she has the option for monitoring with a Doppler, right? So those are the early conversations we're having that have to do with birth environment so that she can totally zen out and focus on what she needs to focus on during birth.
Yes, that's really interesting. Have you ever heard of a provider having a problem with a mother wearing noise cancelling headphones in labor?
I haven't run into that. No, I haven't.
Okay. Okay.
I think
It's a great
it'll be,
idea. It's a
yeah,
great
yeah.
idea.
It's just important that we make sure not to startle them, right? So making sure if we're
Yeah,
doing physical comfort measures and complement that, we're in their line
right,
of vision before we touch them or anything like that, I think is important.
right.
But yeah, I haven't heard besides if they need to get, informed consent from them
Of
that maybe
course.
take their
Yeah, of
headphones off for
course.
a second. Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. Now, what about the um, possibility that you've made your home into this amazing environment and it's really everything you wanted and then for some reason you and your provider agree that you can't continue at home and that you need to transfer to a hospital.
Hmm.
In that situation, what do you advise people can do? They're going into hospital environment. They haven't really planned to be in it. What are the most important things that they might be able to think about, given that they may have only a short time before they leave their home?
Yeah. So, well, I think it's important to know that transfer rates are very low. It's pretty rare,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
regardless of that, it's always important to plan for it. The
yeah.
last thing you want to be doing when you have a last minute transfer is thinking about how am I going to manage this last minute transfer. So, I think
Right,
birth planning is really important. I have a whole workshop that walks through, the importance of creating your ideal birth situation, that's your ideal plan, creating an induction plan and creating a transfer plan if you're birthing at home or in a
yeah,
birth center, and creating a gentle belly birth or cesarean birth plan so that you feel like, regardless of how things go, I know the preferences that I want honored if any of
yeah,
these happen. And so making sure you have a transfer bag packed and have that packed with things that you would like to create a lovely birth environment with.
yeah.
I recently was supported a transfer from a birth center, and I brought everything with me. I brought all of my, twinkle. I brought my lights. I brought my essential oils. We dimmed the lights in the hospital. We turned down the sound of the monitor machine and tried to really create an environment that felt as comfortable as possible. I think if you are transferring to be in the care of a provider you're not familiar with, a birth plan is also really helpful because that takes away
Right,
all of the time you would need in back and forth of these are my preferences and this is what I want, right? They can quickly look at, oh, this is
right.
what's important to you. This is what we, need to understand to support and honor the way that you want to birth.
Yeah,
And so just making sure you have everything packed for that worst case scenario, knowing that it's very unlikely it's going to happen. If it does happen, it's probably for a non-emergency reason. So you do have a little bit of time.
right,
Making sure that you're transferred to the hospital. So if it's non-urgent and you're going to be transferring in your car, what you want to have in your car while you're laboring and making sure the
right.
seat is down. If you're going to be transferring in an ambulance, who would be the person who is with you in the ambulance? If they can't be with you for any reason, what do you need with you to feel comfortable and supported in that transfer? I think those are really important things to think about, so you have the psychological and emotional safety if that happens, as your plan D, that
Right.
you've thought about it, and so it doesn't feel as scary because you've walked through it, you've talked through it with your support team, you and your partner are on the same page. It can be very seamless, and you can still receive wonderful support in a transfer. The most important part is
Sorry.
just making sure that you plan ahead of time, that you and your support team are on the same page. And so regardless of what happens, you're feeling that psychological safety and support in executing and moving forward with a transfer if that's what you've decided, and or if that's what's needed in that moment.
Yeah, I think what I hear you saying is that although it could be the cause of some anxiety to transfer, that you can prevent that, do things to prevent that being a situation in which you feel out of control, perhaps, or rising anxiety, the adrenaline system kicking in. By having that bag ready, then you're ready to go, whether that's urgently or not, but you're ready to go. And it doesn't take long, does it, to make an impact on the environment you walk into when you get to the hospital. It's in 5 minutes you can have a lot of the things that are going to give you the cues and the sense that this is your space.
Exactly. And something that can also make a huge difference in, even though I'd argue who might think this is environment or not, but wearing your own clothing in an environment that's not your home can make a
Yeah,
huge difference on your perception in the environment and your sense of
right.
psychological safety or psychology. So having something that you could wear comfortably while you're laboring, that's not a hospital gown. There's a lot of studies that show when you're wearing a hospital gown, it makes you already feel like you are sick, you are exposed, you have less power. So that's also an element that you can think about, making sure you have
Yeah,
that packed with you. Mhm.
absolutely. So what I'm also hearing is that this is another area of birth that rewards really unpicking how you feel about the whole process, what your preferences are, what's important to you. That time spent doing that is really, really valuable. And there's different ways people can do that, but is that something that people would get from a childbirth education class, that walking through how to understand what's important to you? Is that something that you would do in a class?
Yeah, and I think that inherently, most childbirth education classes should be walking you through understanding the basics of physiological birth, of course.
Yeah,
But as you're getting exposed to more information, as you learn what interventions you might have as options, as you might learn what comfort measures or pain management options
yeah,
might be presented to you, hopefully that inspires you to start thinking, okay, what do I want my birth to look like? And the actual
yeah,
plan of creating a birth plan and realizing these are the things that are very important to me. These are the things that are like nice to haves, right? But these are the
right.
elements that are so important for me to feel like my preferences were heard. And I mean, I have a birth plan masterclass workshop that gives you the quick and dirty of kind of starting that process of choosing what your values are.
Yeah,
But I think that that's something that every person should do in partnership with their birth team. Just talking about, this is what's important to me. Let's talk through this. Because when you're in labor, you're in an altered state of consciousness. You'll need other people to support you in advocating for those plans too.
right. Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, I think that we are going to bring this to a close. This has been really great. Thank you so much. I mean, I think the big takeaway from this session and all of the sessions that we've been recording is really there's a big reward for engaging and really trying to do some research and really understand and figure out what do I want here, and how do I exercise my choices, and what am I allowed to choose and not choose, and what how do the people around me, how can they support me, how am I going to choose a provider? All this thing, it rewards engagement, doesn't it, and research. And I think that I would add, because I'm a dad. I would add that the opportunity for dads to be part of that is one that they should not pass up. They should not check out and zone out and say they don't know how to engage. They need to find a way, because it's crucial, isn't it? So anyway, on that note, thank you so much. This has been great. You've alluded to some of the things that people can do that you offer. Would you like to share the ways that people can take additional steps with you with your childbirth education classes and other things?
Yeah. If you are interested, I have a handful of free and paid resources on my website, which is clearlightbirth.com. If you're curious on learning a little bit about natural birth, check out my natural birth and pregnancy blog, clearlightbirth.com/blog. And you can get a free natural birth plan template, as well as a free natural comfort measures guide on my website. You can find both of those on the homepage. And then I have offerings such as childbirth education classes, master classes, and birth doula support, both virtual and in person, if you felt called to those as well.
And so the classes and the doula support can be in person or online, is that right?
Yes, most of my childbirth classes are online. I offer in-person and virtual doula support. I'm located in the Massachusetts area in New England, USA.
Okay, fantastic. Clara, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for giving your time here to share these tips with women about birth environment. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.